If you're looking forward to the weekend, you can largely thank George Westinghouse, an industrial titan who helped standardize the two-day break we now take for granted. Like all business titans, his contributions to society, such as the air brake or alternating current, changed the world. But perhaps more interesting than his many triumphs was his kind and gentle nature. George was loved by his employees so much that when he died, more than 50,000 of his most loyal workers funded a bronze monument honoring his memory. Unlike the robber barons of his era, George Westinghouse treated his employees like family. Here was a unique man who treated others the way he wanted to be treated. A man who prioritized society's progress over profits. Born in New York on the 6th of October, 1846, the 8th of 10 kids, George was what one might call a problem child. At 13, he was bored with school, preferring instead to work in his father's machinery shop, where he tinkered with tools and parts he found lying around. He would later recall this time as his best education. Upon turning 15, the American Civil War broke out across the newly divided nation. As a patriotic young man, George desired to serve his country, and when he reached the Union's minimum age requirement of 17, he enlisted himself into the New York Volunteer Cavalry, later transferring to the Navy. When the war ended in 1865, Westinghouse enrolled in college, but as he found before, academia was of little interest. Even the president of George's college remarked that he would be better off cultivating his genius elsewhere. So just 2 months after enrollment, Westinghouse dropped out and returned to his father's shop, where he obsessively pursued his passion for engineering. In October of that year, at age 19, Westinghouse was granted his first patent for a rotary steam engine, which he filed when he was just 15. Over the next 48 years, he held over 300 patents, acquiring them at an astonishing rate of one every 6 weeks. His most notable patent came early in his career, the air brake, a revolutionary invention that enabled trains to stop faster by allowing its conductor to instantly apply air pressure to each wagon's brakes. Using the patent, he formed the Westinghouse Air Brake Company and hired a 100-man workforce in Pittsburgh. Prior to the air brake, trains were stopped by brakemen, individuals who would hop from moving train cars, manually applying each wagon's brakes one by one. This archaic system was not only inefficient, but incredibly dangerous. Trains required up to 2 miles of track before arriving at a complete stop. In the late 1870s, it is estimated that over 7,000 brakemen were killed or crippled for life each year, with some estimates placing the figure as high as 22,000. They took home a paltry average of just $1.50 a day. Westinghouse's air brake offered a solution, but at a price tag of $50 per train wagon. It was widely viewed not as an investment in safety, but as an unnecessary cost. Famously, Cornelius Vanderbilt said to Westinghouse, "If I understand you, young fellow, you propose to stop a railroad train with wind? I'm too busy to listen to such nonsense." It would not be until one of Vanderbilt's own railroads experienced a tragic accident that he would eventually give in. Westinghouse held demonstrations. During one demo, a horse and carriage unexpectedly crossed onto the tracks. As the train sped towards the overturned carriage, the conductor threw the brakes, quickly stopping the train just 4 feet away. Onlookers cheered as disaster was narrowly avoided, and prospective customers decided to purchase the system. George later scored another victory in 1893 when Congress passed the Safety Appliance Act, finally requiring all trains to use air brakes. Thanks to the booming railroad industry, the Westinghouse Air Brake Company would provide steady funding for George's other future patents. After achieving financial success, George and his wife Marguerite purchased a large property in Pittsburgh, which they named Solitude. At their estate, George launched yet another venture, this time into the world of natural gas, which was particularly dangerous at the time due to its instability and the occasional violent explosions. Despite the risk, George welcomed the challenge and installed a large gas derrick in his own backyard, where he began prospecting for natural gas. Much to his delight, he would uncover vast amounts of the flammable material 1,500 feet beneath his luxurious estate. His wife was also delighted, remarking, "It'll be nice to have you working at home for a while." 1. It soon became evident that Westinghouse had unleashed the equivalent of a mini volcano, creating a roaring geyser of fire with a hurricane-like velocity. The epic blaze raged for days, towering over 100 feet into the sky. The spectacle attracted residents who would travel miles just to witness the extraordinary event. There was so much natural gas on his property that he ultimately decided to construct 3 additional derricks and, in 1884, launched his own natural gas company. His railroad and natural gas companies grew into larger corporations, and being the curious individual he was, George became interested in the exciting new field of electricity. Westinghouse understood the principles of pressure thanks to his experience in the natural gas business, and when he learned that voltage is essentially the same as electrical pressure, it was an easy transition for him to make. George Westinghouse witnessed the rise of Thomas Alva Edison, also known as the Wizard of Menlo Park. His widely popular inventions were captivating the new world of electricity with his direct current system, known as DC. In 1882, the Edison Illuminating Company built the United States' first commercial central power plant, known as Pearl Street Station. But Westinghouse noticed a major flaw. The direct current system only enabled electricity to travel about half a mile. For DC to become mainstream, Edison needed to build power stations on nearly every corner. Westinghouse refused to believe this would be America's future. He set out in search of a better solution. He was fascinated with alternating current, or AC, which allowed electricity to travel hundreds or even thousands of miles. Westinghouse was not only a great inventor, but also a great manager, who left his ego at the door, always recognizing the potential in other people's work. The absence of his ego provided him with an enormous business advantage, the ability to pivot. Edison, on the other hand, was stubborn, and it was extremely difficult for him to admit he was wrong. Westinghouse acquired the U.S. patent to the electric transformer, improving upon the technology. In 1886, George founded the Westinghouse Electric Company, which sparked one of history's most shocking rivalries known as the War of the Currents. Despite alternating current's ability to be transmitted long distances, Westinghouse struggled with the motor. That was until he met Serbian-born immigrant Nikola Tesla. In 1888, Tesla received a patent for an AC induction motor. George quickly recognized Tesla's brilliance and purchased his patents for $60,000. But Edison felt challenged and launched a widespread smear campaign designed to scare the public into believing AC was dangerous. Edison used alternating current to electrocute live animals in public demonstrations. When animals were not enough, Edison escalated by introducing the electric chair. Edison proposed to journalists that any prisoner put to death would be Westinghoused. In spite of Edison's vicious campaign, Westinghouse persevered. In 1893, the most important battle arrived, the Chicago World's Fair. Over 27 million people gathered for the event. Winning the contract meant unparalleled opportunity. Edison's General Electric submitted a bid of $1.8 million. Westinghouse pursued a different strategy. He planned to lose money, drastically undercutting Edison with a bid just shy of $400,000. It was a major gamble. Ultimately, the board chose Westinghouse. Edison continued trying to stop Westinghouse, alleging patent infringement. Just 6 months before the fair opened, the judge agreed with Edison, which meant Westinghouse could use alternating current, but not the one-piece light bulb. Westinghouse quickly manufactured a 2-piece incandescent bulb. Within months, his factory produced 250,000 of them. On May 1st in 1893, President Grover Cleveland pressed the on button. Hundreds of thousands watched in awe as the world's most spectacular light show came to life. Thanks to the publicity, Westinghouse Electric was awarded a contract to build the Niagara Falls Power Plant, the world's first major hydroelectric power station. 3 years later, Buffalo, New York, started receiving power. Westinghouse and Tesla had defeated Edison's direct current. Westinghouse not only proved AC superiority over DC, he proved something much greater, that success does not have to correlate with ruthlessness. George Westinghouse was remarkably different from other robber barons of his era in that he actually treated his workforce with respect. For as long as he was alive, he never once encountered a strike by his workers. The name Westinghouse became synonymous with excellent working conditions, even building a small village for his employees known as Wilmerding. While workers at other companies were normally given row houses, Westinghouse's workers lived in homes with electricity, baths, running water, and natural gas. His workers had the option of leasing their home through monthly paycheck deductions. His manufacturing plants also boasted the highest safety standards. His Wilmerding factory even had a small hospital equipped with a nurse, surgeon, and pharmacy. This is in addition to being one of the country's first employers to ever offer paid accident insurance benefits. Perhaps most interesting, he is also credited with being one of the country's first major employers to help standardize the weekend, giving his workers a half-day off on Saturday, a practice which disrupted the status quo and upset other factory employers. And in return for his care, Westinghouse's workers loved him. The railroad workers even claimed Westinghouse as their patron saint, calling him Street George. Another striking difference in George's life was his desire to see others succeed. Edison had over 1,000 patents in his name, but workers in his lab were required to credit the name Thomas Edison on their patent designs. Compare this with Westinghouse, who was more than happy to put his employees' names on the patents they came up with. All in all, Westinghouse himself received over 100 patents and bought the rights to over 200 more. His goal was to tinker, improve, monetize, and make the world a better place. His improvements to the world include air suspension systems for vehicles, steam turbines, reduction gears to propel steamships in water, and dozens of improvements to railroad equipment. His inventions and companies were always centered around the greater good. But in the panic of 1907, Westinghouse's empire began to crumble as he found himself over-leveraged and short on cash. As market liquidity drained, depositors rushed to withdraw their money, causing a nationwide bank run. In just 3 weeks, the New York Stock Exchange created nearly a 50% loss from the previous year's peak. Tesla and Westinghouse had devoted over a decade of their lives to becoming the victors of the current war, only to see their electricity empire unravel before their eyes. For J.P. Morgan, it was the opportunity he had been waiting for. In 1907, Morgan further squeezed Westinghouse Electric, implying that the company's problems were due to George's poor management skills, slamming the company's stock price and bond ratings. It was not long before Westinghouse's loans were called. Unable to pay his debts, the beloved Titan found himself in checkmate. His company, Westinghouse Electric, would be forced into receivership by J.P. Morgan. Not long afterward, he was fired from his own company. Despite losing his most prized corporation, George remained incredibly wealthy, with an estimated net worth of $50 million. And despite his tragic defeat, he continued to invent. On the 12th of March 1914, while designing an electric wheelchair, George Westinghouse passed away. His wife, Marguerite, would also pass just 3 months later. History books often failed to show justice to the legacy of George Westinghouse. He was a man who did far more than light up the modern world with alternating current. Analyze the lives he touched, and you'll find that Westinghouse's legacy has less to do with air brakes and electricity, and more to do with treating others the right way. If alive today, he would undoubtedly take more pride in his title as a role model rather than that of a titan.